ask yourself this question. Am I missing the person, or am I missing the fantasy of who I wanted them to be and what I wanted the relationship to be like? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Love Chat with the Love Twins. It's Michelle, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. And I want to ask you a question. Type me in the chat if there's someone from your past. Maybe it's an ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband, a long-term partner, or even someone you dated and you were really hoping this could turn into something that you still think about sometimes. So type me in the chat if that happens to you every once in a while. Maybe it's something that you are actively working on getting past, or maybe you're thinking about this person in a way that you wish things worked out. Maybe this is somebody that keeps coming into your mind as what you don't want to experience again, but still they're taking up space and energy, like they're renting space in your mind and body. So go ahead and type me in the chat if that's you, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. If that's the case for you, if you have someone from your past that you continue to think about, that you wish and wonder about, that you find yourself going back to that relationship, comparing others to that, and you haven't really felt like you can move forward, I want you to know that's something that is completely natural. And especially for women like us, women who show up big in life, but somehow we feel pulled back into this emotional cycle of relationships that didn't really fully serve us. And we're not growing with them, but we keep feeling like, I just feel like I can't break away from that. If that's you, I want you to lean in, because I want to talk to you about something that we call fantasy versus pattern. There are different reasons people break up. And sometimes you're the one that initiated the breakup, or sometimes somebody else did. And either way, breakups can be very painful. Now, one of the things that we've noticed though, and this is through the years, over 30 years of working with women and being able to break out of their patterns and step into the love that they really want. One thing that we see over and over again is this fantasy versus pattern. So breakup after, whether it's been a long-term relationship or a marriage, or it could even be a situation you wish could have turned out differently. What happens is your brain isn't replaying the reality of what happened. It replays the potential, or it romanticizes what could have been. And what happens is it keeps reminding you of what or how you wish they would have been or could have been, not what or how they actually were, how they actually showed up. That's why you still think about them, or you might even be still texting, or every once in a while, hey, how are you doing? Or you find yourself wondering, what if I would have waited? What if he could have changed? What if I made a mistake? Even though when you look at what actually happened and how you're remembering it is very different, because you're focusing on the potential instead of the real pattern that was happening in the relationship. So if you ever caught yourself thinking about that version of someone you wish they were, that's what I'm talking about. And it happens often. It happens to a lot of us. So if you're in this situation, ask yourself this question: am I missing the person, or am I missing the fantasy of who I wanted them to be and what I wanted the relationship to be like? Now, I'm not saying you may not have experienced some great moments with this person, but when you look at the overall reason why you're not together anymore, are you missing them, or are you missing what you wish they would have been, what you wish when they showed up great, that could have kept going versus what it was really like? This happens because, and this is not something that a lot of people talk about, but we're talking about it a lot more now, because this is something we're seeing constantly in our coaching sessions with clients and with women who are coming into our community. And this has a really big impact on not just your mind, but also your body, your nervous system. And it can be the difference between being strongly connected to a fantasy or being strongly connected to reality. And the only place you're really going to experience power is when you're very deeply grounded in reality and in this moment right now, not in some fantasy about the past. And it also has a big impact because if you don't dismantle this, it could drive you into repeating the same patterns over and over again. And then you wonder, why does this keep happening to me? Well, it's not that it's happening to you, it's that you're stuck in a pattern. Here's something to consider, okay? Consider that sometimes it's really not that you're missing them. You're missing the intensity that you felt when you were with them. So when a relationship runs on highs and lows, and sometimes very high highs and very low lows, that up and down, there's drama. It's very dramatic. There's a lot of passion. It's unpredictable. What happens, and you may not realize that it's happening, is that your body gets addicted to that chemical cocktail of adrenaline, dopamine, oxytocin, all these chemicals that are running through your body when you're in the up and down of it. And it's a full nervous system hook, and you completely get hooked into it. And what happens is when they're no longer there, your body starts to experience withdrawals. Like if you've ever withdrawn from something, like whether it's cigarettes or sugar or something that you had to stop eating or ingesting or taking because it wasn't healthy for you, you know that your body craves it, even if it's not something that's good for you. I remember going through that when I quit cigarettes. I used to smoke for years. I smoked. And when I quit, even though I never smoked a cigarette again, my body still longed for that experience of what I used to feel, the relief or the stress reduction or whatever it was that I was feeling at the time. Even though I didn't want a cigarette anymore, I wanted that feeling. I knew I didn't want that in my life. It wasn't healthy for me and it wasn't aligned with my values, but I wanted that feeling. So that's what starts to happen. This chemical cocktail of adrenaline, dopamine, oxytocin, it's running through you. And when it's that person's not there anymore and you're not in the highs and lows anymore, it feels like your body craves it. Your nervous system craves it. And by the way, you could be brilliant and successful and fully self-aware and still feel pulled back into these kinds of patterns that I'm talking about. It's not that you want to go back to that situation that was so painful. It's that your body wants the rush it's been conditioned to expect and experience. So if you know what I'm talking about, type intensity in the chat. If you've ever felt that pull back and it's more to the intensity that you felt rather than the actual person, but you've maybe had that confused. You can type the word intensity in the chat. Now, I have some good news for you. Once you understand what's happening in your nervous system, you can start retraining it to crave connection that's actually healthy without the drama and that emotional roller coaster. There is a way to train your nervous system to do that. The mind replays the fantasy of someone and your body gets hooked to the intensity of the highs and the lows. And that's exactly where this next piece I'm going to talk to you about comes in. And it's something that a lot of women don't realize is happening, and it's happening beneath the surface, or it's happening in the background. And that's that a trauma bond is actually being created in that experience, in that pull, in that wanting the intensity back. When your mind is attached to the potential and your body is addicted to the adrenaline, these two together create that pattern that keeps you feeling like you're stuck wanting to go back. Even when logically, you know that it's not right for you, he's not right for you, it's not healthy for you. That's what trauma bonding is. It forms when moments of affection are intertwined with these periods of mistreatment. So what do I mean by that? Your nervous system and your emotional parts of your brain actually and literally get wired to stay in that situation, even though it's not right or healthy for you. There's a wiring that's happening. And so I'm going to break this down a little bit more so you understand exactly how it works and why it's such a powerful reason we keep thinking about this person, even though we get to leave them behind and move forward. So again, these trauma bonds happen when there's emotional highs and lows. Those emotional highs and lows create an attachment because there's like the unpredictability of it. Once you've healed whatever emotional wound created that attachment pattern, you will be in a secure attachment pattern. But if you're feeling that back and forth and the push and pull and the up and down and that feels like love, or that feels like passion, or that feels like connection, consider that that's a trauma bond. It's not love or connection. It's a trauma bond. So it happens when, one example is when someone is inconsistent, but they give you just enough validation. So they're not fully in. You often find yourself wondering how they really feel about you. Do they really love me? Oh, yes, they do. Oh, wait, are they pulling away? Oh, no, there they are. Oh, wait, are they going to go away? Oh, no, here they are. It's that push and pull. So what happens is your body learns to interpret that unpredictability as love. And it's an incorrect interpretation. Or maybe they treat you really good and then they treat you really bad. And you're left wanting and craving that good treatment because you know the potential's there. You've seen them treat you well. And you get hooked on the desire for them to treat you well. And this is where other patterns can develop, like people pleasing and pushing your own needs and wants to the side, over functioning. All of this can happen inside of this trauma bond. And then you're left thinking, I know he wasn't right for me. I know that I deserve better, but I can't let him go. I can't stop thinking about him. If only he was, or if only he could. And then you fill in the blank. That's a sign of a trauma bond. That's your trauma bond talking. It's literally your body and your brain and your nervous system telling you to keep going back for more of that chemical cocktail because that pattern has become familiar. It could even feel safe, even though logically somebody treating you bad and then treating you good and treating you bad, treating you good, coming, going, being in and out, logically doesn't feel safe. or logically that's not safe, if you were brought up in an environment where that environment or the people in that environment, your parents, your caretakers, a sibling, the situation you were brought up in was unpredictable, unpredictability starts to feel very familiar to the nervous system, even though it's not healthy for you. So I'm going to give you a real life example. I worked with a client. She was a powerhouse executive, super smart, very well off. And she kept texting this guy. We started working and she started dating again. And she kept this text interaction with this guy that she knew wasn't available. He actually told her, I'm not interested in being in a committed relationship. I just want to hang out. And she knew that what she wanted was a committed relationship, but she kept being drawn to him. This was a familiar pattern. This wasn't the first or the second time this had happened to her. Every reply and every time they got together, every time they hooked up, it triggered that adrenaline spike. Every time he was gone and then he would come back, it triggered that adrenaline spike. It filled some need she needed to fill, in addition to her body craving that feeling that she had incorrectly associated with love or real interest and connection. She thought that she really wanted to be with him, but in reality, it was the pattern running. Through the work in our coaching program, the work that we did together, she was able to break out of that addiction, break out of that pattern. And she learned how to do that and how to do it in a healthy way. So she never had to be back in that cycle again. And in less than a month, less than 1 month, she started dating men who actually showed up for her, men who were respectful, they were consistent, they treated her well, they matched her energy, they matched her values, they matched the kind of experience she wanted to have in her dating life and eventually in her love life. And now she's in a healthy, committed relationship. And we see this happen all the time when you're able to learn how to break that cycle. This is very powerful because once you understand trauma bonding and how it works, and once you learn how to break out of it, you're going to have a map to freedom, a real map to freedom. You can stop the cycle of being pulled into that old way, that old method of attraction, to that unpredictability, to that inconsistency, to the pain that comes with all of that. So you can start attracting a love that's really aligned with who you are today, not who you were in the past, but who you are today and what you want to experience right now. So I want to just pause for a moment. And I want you to think about the last relationship you were in, or the last dating experience, or the almost relationship that you were in. Just think about that. Bring it to mind for just a moment. And you don't have to answer these questions in the chat, but I want you to answer them in your heart. You could write them down as well. So the first question is, were you focusing in that relationship on the potential that this person demonstrated on and off, or on the reality of what was going on? Where was your focus? Remember, this trauma bond pulls you to focus on but I know he can be good because he was good to me before. I know he can be consistent because he's done it in the past. But that's potential, not reality. So what were you focusing on? What was replaying, the potential or the reality? That's the first question. And then the second question you can ask yourself is, were you hooked on intensity rather than true connection? This is where you can start distinguishing the two, okay? This is where awareness can become the first step towards transformation. When you can distinguish intensity from real connection. So real connection, you feel very seen, you feel understood, you feel like safe, but not because of a familiar pattern, but because you can count on the person who's there. You feel like you could be yourself. You don't have to be one way or another, and you're not trying to chase love or chase him or force something. Everything is happening very naturally, and it's very aligned with what you want to experience and what you value. So was it the intensity or real connection that your body was hooked on? Your mind and your nervous system were hooked on. And then the third question is, and this is one where I want you to spend a little bit of time even after today's love chat on this, is where might a trauma bond have kept you stuck? So what's the pattern that it kept you stuck in? And the work that we do with our clients is we help you to recognize, why does that pattern exist? There's something that it exists to fill. And usually the first thing that comes to mind is not the thing. It's the thing you're familiar with. But a few layers below that, we can distinguish that for you, and then we can replace it with a pattern that actually is going to support you in creating the kind of experience in dating and in love that you want to experience, not the one that you're used to experiencing. So take a moment and think about those questions. And again, you don't have to put in the chat, but you can answer it for yourself. If you feel ready to, you can share one word in the chat that captures that feeling that you're ready to release. What's that addiction addicted feeling you're ready to release. And you can go ahead and put that in the chat when you're ready. This is really important work, because once you start realizing that you're in a pattern, you now have access to do something about it. You may not know the how, that's what we're here for. But you'll start to realize, I keep getting stuck on these men who aren't right for me, and it's not healthy for me, and it's very painful. Every time it ends, it's another painful experience. If you keep being stuck in that pattern, it is a pattern. It's not just about the man. Because if you look, you'll find multiple experiences like that. And here's the thing, and you'll hear us say this over and over again, because it's a very common misconception. Oh, I'll do it differently with the next guy. That's not going to happen. You've got to really dismantle this for yourself, because changing the partner doesn't change the patterns. Moving on to the next person, the likelihood of you repeating that pattern is very high. And patterns don't break because you understand them intellectually either. They break when you have a clear plan and the right support. If you're ready to know how to easily let go of the wrong one so you can attract real love with a real man, then I invite you to apply for a love vision mapping session. So this is for women who have never had the opportunity to speak with us about what it looks like to create this kind of shift in your love life. So it's not for clients or for anyone who's spoken with one of our love breakthrough coaches before. This is for people who have not had that experience yet. And it's an application because we want to make sure that you're a fit and that we can truly support you. So in this session, one of our coaches is going to help you get clear on what's keeping you in this trauma bond with the wrong person. So what's keeping you bonded to them, and what kind of relationship you're actually available for now in your life. You can get out of this trauma bond. What are you ready for now? And she's also going to tell you what needs to shift so you stop repeating this pattern and you can have the love that you really want and experience that with ease, not with force and not with effort, with ease. So I really invite you to apply right now while it's fresh in your mind. We just put the link in the chat, in the comments. Go ahead, click on it, open it in a new tab, and apply right now. All right, this is very important work. And we can't wait to see what happens when you give yourself permission to be free from this trauma bond. And as we wrap up today's session, I want you to remember something that's important for you to get. Missing someone doesn't make you weak. And being stuck in a pattern doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that your heart is ready for something better. When you can recognize that, you're actually letting your brain and your body know, I'm ready for something else. And reaching out for support is actually a sign of strength, especially with people who know how to do this. If you're done circling the same lesson with different men, let us help you break that pattern. Apply for the Love Vision mapping session. Again, the link is in the chat, in the comments. We're going to help you map the love you want. Create a map to the love that you want so you can break your attachment to the wrong man, create a plan to have you easily attract, just like the client I shared with you about, and so many clients that we work with who are able to easily attract relationships. And it's a relationship that matches the woman you are, the love you want, and the kind of experience you want to have. It's so important that you do that right now while you're clear on this and it's top of mind, before your mind goes into the old pattern of the next pattern that shows up, which is, what if it doesn't work? It absolutely can work. It can work for you because it's worked for thousands of women that we've been able to have the privilege of working with. So don't wait until the feeling fades. Don't wait until the cycle pulls you back in. You deserve real love now. And remember that you are worthy and lovable, and your heart is ready for the love that reflects the amazing women that you've become and the one that you're becoming. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself tonight. I also want to remind you to, if you haven't done so yet, to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss these love chats, because this is where we go deep. This is where we get real, where we give you tools to create the love that you actually desire and deserve. Remember that you're worthy of the love that you want, ladies. Take this clarity that you've gotten today, something that started percolating in your mind and in your heart and in your body, this awareness that's showing up for you, and step into your power tonight and apply for your love vision mapping session, okay? All right, that's it for Love Chat today. We are going to be back here next week, Tuesday at 6:00 p.m. Eastern. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Goodbye for now.